It's not a divest or don't divest. I think it'll be shut down. I think they're getting kicked out of the United States.
I think his goose was cooked as soon as they asked him the question, in preparation for this hearing, did you consult with any member of the CCP? And he could not just outright say no.
Nope.
So his goose was cooked as soon as he couldn't just say no.
People believe that this is a viable competitor to Facebook and Instagram. This could be a company worth ultimately hundreds of billions of dollars. If you were an investor in China, you would want to IPO, you would want to get liquidity. So if they are refusing to sell, what does that tell you as a market participant and somebody who's been a capital allocator for over a decade?
There's bigger problems in China than even TikTok US represents for them. I think it's probably what it means. So it's a pretty bad tell. I don't think divestiture is a real option because when you think about the details of that, how will the government be satisfied that the code base was separated elegantly, that there was no malware surreptitiously planted? How will you actually prove all of this to a degree that satisfies a legislator? So I think the pound of flesh that they want is more easily and more salaciously satisfied by shutting the thing down. So if I had to bet on what happens, I bet more on that. I didn't think TikTok did a very good job. And I think that there are some...
They were terrible today. Terrible.
And I think that there are some real issues around how much control does actually flow back. I don't think that it was definitive. He needed to be much clearer and adamant that this was an independent business that didn't have backdoors to China and the CCP to appease Congress. He didn't do that.
No, he was like, I have to check in on that. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think it was a little bit of the exact opposite, actually. Sachs is right. Like that first question was just a death blow right from the beginning. It's like, this is not going to go in a good place because they should have been able to see that that question was going to get asked. And you need to have that asked and answered philosophy where the only answer is no. The only answer you could have given is no. And the fact that he wasn't able to say that, it was a bit of a fait accompli as soon as that was in my mind. I was like, this thing is getting shut down. Because I don't think there's
shut down. Wow.
Yeah, there's no divestiture plan that can be technically audited in a short amount of time to appease these folks. They want a pound of flesh. And then separately, the bigger issue that I think you have to deal with is what does that mean for how other governments may be pressured to act who want to be on the pro-US camp? And I think that that's a question because ByteDance and TikTok have presence beyond just China and the US. A third question is, how does the golden vote get used on the ByteDance board? And what do they do? And do they even want this thing public?
Explain golden vote.
Essentially, they'll decide what happens to that company. And they have that in Alibaba. They have that, I think, at Tencent. I think they have that at ByteDance. So the Chinese government has a very strong hand in the direction of these businesses. And then the final point is that there's a secondary app that TikTok has called CapCut, which also is enormously popular in the United States, which is yet another potential backdoor for privacy or spying violations, whatever the US Congress wants to pin on them. So I think it's a very complicated moment for that business and their US asset.
Sachs, it's pretty clear the CCP is making this decision. If they decide, let it burn, let it get kicked out of the United States, what does that do in terms of game theory between the two countries and going forward? Because obviously they don't reciprocate. We're not allowed to have Google, Twitter, Instagram, whatever in China. So is this just, putting reciprocity?
What decision are you saying the CCP is making?
Well, the CCP has the golden vote. It's their decision to divest or not divest. Chamath believes they will not divest. I believe they will not divest.
Chamath is saying that they're not going to have the choice. I don't see what decision the CCP has in this. It's going to be
if they don't divest.
That's right. It's not a divest or don't divest. I think it'll be shut down. I think they're getting kicked out of the United States.
Okay, but you believe they're going to divest, Sachs?
I'm saying that's what I would support, just to give them the chance.
Okay. So what do you think's going to happen?
Chamath may be right. I'm not sure. But I think they should be given the chance. And if you truly can't move the servers to the United States and vet the code base, I feel like you could have an acquirer figure it out, vet the code base, move the data centers, make sure there's no backdoors. I think it's not impossible, hard, but not impossible.
Okay, so let's go with the scenario that it gets kicked out of the United States, it's shut down. Are there any second or third order impacts?
Yeah, it just ratchets up the tension between the U.S. and China, but we're already there.